We are continuing our discussion on the coronavirus or COVID-19 pandemic. And with new case numbers on the rise throughout the country and increasing here in Florida, this leaves many residents wondering what we should do next. Face masks are still required throughout many Central Florida communities, and more vaccine and testing sites are opening to accommodate the numbers. So, what does all of this mean for you? Well, on this special edition of Healthy Connections, we're going to get an up-to-date look at where we are as a community dealing with this pandemic. Let's get an update from our state medical professionals. And joining me is Alvina Chu. She's the epidemiologist with the Florida Department of Health in Orange County. Hi, Alvina. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, Alvina, today we're going to do a little bit something different. We're going to talk about the myths that are out there about the COVID-19 vaccine. So I'm going to read a myth, and then I'll have you respond to it with your professional knowledge. So let's get started. Okay. Number one, the COVID vaccine is unsafe because it was developed so quickly.
So the COVID vaccine was actually developed pretty much in the same way we developed every other vaccine, with the same kind of steps and processes and review boards in place. And so the quickness was because we did these steps at the same time, and they don't necessarily all have to be sequential as they had been in the past. A lot of the technologies that we've used to develop these new vaccines are technologies that we've already had in use previously for other purposes. And so the COVID vaccines have been reviewed in the same way we review other vaccines and are very safe.
Excellent. All right, so myth number two. I've already had COVID-19, so I don't need the vaccine.
So right now, we're still trying to develop more or gather more information about how long immunity lasts after you've had a natural infection. And just, we don't really know a lot about just how strong that immunity is after you've had natural infection. And so the COVID vaccines have been evaluated to be really good at preventing you from getting severe illness and possibly, dying from natural infection. And so we would really encourage everyone to get the vaccine to protect them from these severe illnesses, especially if you're in a higher risk group for developing severe illness.
All right, and so our next myth is I have already received the vaccine, so I don't need to wear a mask.
Right, so we still are encouraging people to practice the good pandemic precautions. Right now, not everybody has received the vaccine. And so as long as there are people who, or our community doesn't have yet the immunity to help us tamp down the pandemic, it's important for everyone to continue to practice the good pandemic precautions. One part is we haven't evaluated the vaccines for the transmission. So we know the vaccine is really good at preventing illness and severe illness and deaths, but unsure, although it's unlikely that you could still transmit. But until we get that information, please, everyone should practice the good pandemic precautions, whether you've already been vaccinated or not.
All right, so the next myth is, since the vaccines are now available, the pandemic will be over soon.
So right now we're in this race of trying to build the herd immunity or the community immunity to prevent outrace mutations. And so one concern that we have is the vaccine is really good at the preventing illnesses and severe illnesses and deaths. And we would like that to continue, but we need everyone to help us get the pandemic under control so that the mutations don't outpace the ability for us to provide good immunity.
And here is a myth that I've actually heard. The COVID-19 vaccine causes severe side effects.
So currently the COVID-19 vaccine has not been shown to have caused any severe side effects. people do get some kind of mild reaction, so which happens with a lot of vaccines. At the localized site of your injection, you might feel some soreness for about a day or two. And some people do get a mild systemic sort of reaction, which is basically your body's immune system working to build that immunity. So you might feel maybe a low-grade fever, or you might have a headache, but those symptoms are mild and go away after a few days. So the vaccine has not been linked to any severe side effects in general. So there are some people, say if you have known severe allergies, who have had allergic reactions, but in general overall, there hasn't been any link to severe side effects.
And my mother, who's 87 years old, just got her vaccine and she is fine. So you're absolutely right.
Great. My parents as well, in their mid-80s, just got their vaccine.
Exactly. They're great. So here's the next myth. COVID-19 survival rate is high, so therefore I don't need to get the vaccine.
So, it depends on who you are. There are many people in our population who are at a greater risk for severe illness and death. And so we, as well as that for them getting the vaccine to protect themselves from this illness, we should all get the vaccine to protect those around us. And there will be some people who will not be able to get the vaccine. And so for our community, it's recommended that we all get the vaccine when it's our time to protect the rest of our community and to build that community protection, and so that we can get the pandemic under control and get back to our new normal.
All right, so here is another myth. If a COVID-19 vaccine requires 2 doses, I really only need 1 dose.
So the COVID vaccines have been evaluated to provide the best immunity after 2 doses. So they vary on the degree of protection that's provided after a single dose. And so there is in development actually a single dose vaccine, which is the Johnson & Johnson, which hopefully will be approved soon by the FDA for use in the United States. But for those 2-dose vaccine series, it's recommended that you get the second dose to completely build the immunity as the vaccines were designed for. Exactly.
Okay, Alvina, so I'm going to leave the last myth for you, which is quite an interesting one. Here's our final myth. The COVID-19 vaccine includes a microchip tracking device.
So I don't even have any explanation or words for that, except that it's just not true.
Well, I appreciate you going along with our exercise today for the myths, and this is actually very serious information because so many people are out there with all of these things that they've heard, and the truth is in science. And so we appreciate you coming on today and sharing this science with us, Alvina.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. Thank you so much.
And of course, we'll be right back with more. Stay with us. Central Florida's public transportation service, Lynx, is essential for our community. It provides passengers access to hospitals, medical facilities, and other essential locations around the region. And Norm Hickling is Director of Mobility Services for Lynx, and he is joining us today. Norm, thank you for being with us today.
Clarence, it is my pleasure on behalf of the Mobility Services team and all the members of Lynx.
And so tell me, Norm, what kind of things have changed at Lynx since the pandemic started?
Well, since the pandemic, for our employee safety, one of the things that we did, we took our call center and we have them all working remotely now. So that was a huge change for us to move about 58 employees that normally had come into the offices on a daily basis and have very close contact. And so to make sure that they were safe and socially distanced, we were able to arrange and get new technology and have them be able to work from home for the good of our customers, but for the good of our employees and their families. And also, obviously, we're doing a lot more trips now. We started off doing the COVID-19 testing trips. We had a lot of requests for those. And now we've migrated into, and fortunately, into being able to provide vaccination trips.
And so let's talk a little bit about that. How because of the vaccine becoming more readily available, what is Lynx doing to help people get to and from their vaccine appointments?
Well, we've been really pleased the fact that because of what we learned going through the COVID-19 testing trips, places like at the Orange County Convention Center, we learned how to go through that traffic pattern. There was a lot of testing sites set up, and we were able to get people to those sites. We also knew how to socially distance, and we became much better at that. We disinfected all of our vehicles on a daily basis and after each ride to make sure that they were as clean and sanitary as possible. So now as we've gone into the vaccinations, you have like the Orange County Convention Center, we have worked out with them where we actually do the drive-throughs now with them. So if one of our clients originally had a vaccination appointment, we were able to take them over to the vaccination site at the convention center. We would stay with them, and then we would actually wait with them the 15, 20 minutes or so to make sure that there was no allergic reaction to our clients. And if everything was good, then we would take them back home. And we're pleased to announce that through a partnership working with the Orange County, and it's been working very, very well this first week, is that folks that are not eligible members of Access Lynx at this time, but still needed transportation options to get their vaccination, we've been able to work with 311 and the Office of Emergency Management and be able to take care of those individuals and provide them trips and do the same thing. We take them through the line, they get their vaccination, we wait a few minutes to make sure that everything's well, and then we take them right back home.
That's excellent. And also, tell us how someone would get information about getting transportation to a vaccine appointment through Lynx.
Well, if they are a Access Lynx client currently and they're eligible already, they can call the regular customer service line and make an appointment and a reservation. Just let our mobility services representatives know what time your appointment is. They'll confirm that you have an appointment, and then they'll make that reservation, and we have all our planning that we do to make sure we get you there on time. If the individual currently is not a member of the Access Lynx clientele or in the database, what they can do is contact 311, and then 311 will then refer them to the Office of Emergency Management, which they will then send us that contact information. We'll have the name, we'll have the address, the pickup point, the vaccination appointment time, etc. And then one of our representatives will then call that person to finalize all the details. And details like whether they're in a wheelchair, whether they have some kind of mobility device, whether they need to bring oxygen with them, and all those things that, we want to make sure we have the right vehicle for them and we provide them the right assistance to get them to the vaccination site.
And I'm also assuming that for people who are using Lynx every day just to go from here to there, there are still the protocols with masking and social distancing as much as possible on the Lynx buses?
Yes, our scheduling team right now is trying to minimize as much as we possibly can the number of people on any vehicle. And we're also following the CDC guidelines, and then even the FTA now has mandated masks for all passengers on public transit. And of course, that includes airlines and ships. And so we are following those mandates and adhering to them. We are putting masks on our vehicles so that if somebody forgot one or didn't have one with them, or it's in disrepair, if you will, we can provide that person a mask. And that's for their safety, but it's also for the safety of our employees and operators of the vehicles.
Excellent. Well, Norm, thank you so much for keeping us informed and getting us from here to there safely. Thank you.
Thank you, Clarence. It's been a pleasure.
And we'll be right back with more. Stay with us. One of the most vulnerable segments of the population are those seeking aid from a wide variety of sources, especially those who might not speak English as their first language. With us now is Alphonse Lindor, Haitian Services Coordinator for the Pine Hills Neighborhood Center for Families. Alphonse, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Clarence, for having me.
So, Alphonse, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into this line of work.
Well, Clarence, as you can tell, I am myself an immigrant. I am from Haiti. And while my degree is not in case management, my degree is in pre-law, I found law school was too expensive and I wanted to still be able to help those in my community. So I joined case management and I've been doing it for 17 years almost. And in my experience, I've worked with everybody from the Yemenis in the last few years to Afghanis during the Afghanistan war, to Iraq, to Cubans and Haitians and Venezuelans. So naturally, when I moved to Orlando, I navigated towards helping those in my community.
So when we talk about Haitian services, what components are there in Haitian services that you help people with?
Well, Clarence, as part of the Pine Hills Neighborhood Center for Families, by the way, this is only one of 13 such offices throughout Orange County. My office here in Pine Hills, our services does not only help Haitians, we help everybody in the community. Yes, there is an emphasis on helping Haitian-speaking Creole speakers in the community. That range from case management services to parenting resources to English as a second language classes. And we also serve as a bridge because there are things in the community that are available to them. They may not be aware of it. So by coming to us, we can navigate them and orient them to those services. And as you know, there is a need for immigration. There's been a lot of talk about immigration laws. So we also facilitate them familiarizing themselves with new and current policies and procedures when it comes to immigration.
So tell us about your clients. What's the profile of the typical kind of person you serve?
Well, they are husbands, they are fathers, they are mothers, they are single young men, they are single young ladies. We serve everybody from the person who serves you at the restaurant to the hotel personnel. And we have had clients who used to work for Disney who are currently out of work and it's a wide range segment of the population, from truck drivers to a hotelier.
So how has COVID-19 changed the way that you operate?
Well, thank you for asking that. COVID-19 has impacted every segment of the population. And yes, we were not immune to the havoc it has created in the population. We used to be able, for example, our ESOL classes was a very, I would say, vibrant part of our services. That has dramatically decreased, and some of our services have moved transitioned, I should say, through being virtual only. However, they are parts, for example, somebody who's doing immigration applications cannot do that virtually. They have to, where they require a face-to-face meeting. So we have to meet the CDC guidelines and adhere to those guidelines as far as social distancing and make sure that we can serve them as well.
So how do people find out about the services that are available at the center? Where should they go to find out more information?
Well, they can stop by our office on Belco Drive, 2804 Belco Drive. They can call us at 407-294-3519. And they can, we have people here who answers the phone in English and as well in Creole. And those shouldn't be only the people. As a matter of fact, we have clients who only speak Spanish. I speak some Spanish. So when they come to our offices, whether they speak Haitian, Creole, Spanish, English, French, we can help them.
Excellent. Well, Alphonse, thank you so much for being with us here and letting us know about what's happening in the community.
Thank you so much for having me, Clarence. It was a pleasure being here.
Cheers. And we'll be right back with more. Stay with us. we've heard from a variety of leaders today trying to keep you informed about the coronavirus. From local government, the medical community who's on the front lines dealing with this pandemic, and organizations who continue to serve this community. And of course, we are also here to help you keep making those healthy connections. Stay safe.